Good evening. It is Wednesday, September 14th, 2016. It is the monthly meeting of the Urbana Human Relations Commission. Could we please have a roll call?
Frances Rigberg Baker,
Here.
Carol Bradford, Stacy Burnett,
Here.
Samuel Bindum, Daniel Larson,
Here.
Lisa Mosley, Peter Resnick,
Here.
Aisha Lam Sobe, and Catalina Thomas.
Thank you. Looking over the minutes from, looking over tonight's agenda, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any changes, any edits, corrections? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Now, looking at the approval, looking at the minutes from our August 10th meeting, are there any additions, edits, corrections that need to be made? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Any last, anything? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. Public participation, hearing none, seeing none. We're also able to skip over old business and jump to item 6, new business, committee reports. Community relations, would you guys like to go first, please?
We have the applications to the high schools for a rep or two on our commission. They're due in at the end of the month, and I'm going to call very soon this week to see how things are going with that, if we have any interest. We also represented at the Gay Pride Parade, and that was great, along with the city of Urbana. There was we participated in the Champaign-Urbana International Humanitarian Awards dinner as well, and that was a lovely affair. I just attended also the Champaign Community Coalition meeting over at the library, which I found fascinating, and it was my first time, and last time Lisa went. So we're alternating going to that meeting, which is jam-packed and is probably still going on. It was very interesting. First, everybody says who they are and what they're associated with, which is actually very quickly and is very impressive. There is one thing I want to communicate to you, and that is there is going to be a 40-hour trauma and community violence crisis responder training. And I have information about that. It is sponsored by the Champaign-Urbana Area Project. And I can attest that 40-hour trainings are a wonderful way to become familiar enough with the field to be an intelligent responder or volunteer. And it doesn't hurt anybody to have these under their belt. When it comes to important issues in the community, it really educates you. And it will talk about the root causes of violence, the public health approach to addressing violence, helping skills, crisis intervention, etc., restorative justice and how these tools can be used, about trauma and how to help traumatized individuals, and community resources in this area. So I highly recommend it, and I have several handouts for you from that. Tomorrow night there is a labor history event in Urbana, a local history of the labor movement here. A lot of folks are going, and I think that's also a very interesting event, and I plan to go. So that's it for community relations.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to just supplement that a little bit. Also, as part of community relations, one of the things that we did this year, we just finished a tour de force of outreach. We attended the CU Market Days, and you'll see later in the agenda a request for authorization for reimbursement. We passed out we did under $115, close to $115 worth of school supplies, distributed them to the children that needed them, interacting with parents and children. We represented both the HRC and the CPRB. Got a lot of questions, passed out a lot of information, as well as other city services. We also attended, promptly after that, the Taste of Champaign-Urbana. It was really nice to have a Urbana tent at the over at the park, Westside Park. Again, we represented the banners of the CPRB and the HRB, distributed literature, answered questions. And then, as Fran mentioned, at the Gay Pride Parade, we attended this year. The Sweet Corn Festival was also attended, and we also represented the CPRB and the HRB. So those were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of intense outreach. I also wanted to advise that I'm going to be attending that labor union meeting with Fran this weekend, this Thursday evening, and to show some outreach to the labor community and to discuss the HRC as much as possible. The other only update that I have that sort of relates to community relations is, as you know, the city of Urbana is engaged in a substantive dialogue around police community relations, in large part as a result of the disparity study. I am very happy to announce that the city has secured a highly competent crime analyst. She began working in late August, and she's already looking at the data and going to be working with the city on best practices and creating metrics moving forward. That's all I have for that.
Great, thank you, Alex. Criminal Justice Report Project. We had our second meeting. We are plowing through our book, Don't Shoot, and Alex and Samuel are both accumulating some pretty impressive supplemental materials that we're going to start digging into as well. So we are moving forward, kind of getting our feet for the furthering our understanding of the area, specifically around the or traffic stop and traffic disparity questions. So feel good, but nothing beyond that to report to the commission.
Something else that came up at the meeting I just attended was they're very interested in helping people with reentry.
Okay.
Speaking of a criminal justice area, and they're facing some of the problems that we discussed when we were talking about our ban the box
Sure.
ordinance change, and issues like a 5-year waiting period for housing and things like that that aren't really, that may have some appeal in the abstract but actually aren't helpful to anybody. And I just thought that was interesting that we were going to be now part of this other discussion as well. Also, there is going to be a big, the Champaign County clerk, circuit clerk, Katie Blakeman, has organized a expungement and record sealing summit, which will involve no cost to anybody who wants to participate in it, including any of the fees involved, court fees involved, including any of the legal fees and so forth, and there's child care, and they're trying to make it as accessible as possible for people who are interested in this topic. And that's going to be Saturday, October 22nd at the Stone Creek Church, and I also have some flyers for that.
Could I definitely get one of those?
Oh,
'Cause that's certainly
absolutely,
something
sure.
I was trying to get going a little bit ago, and I'll make contact with her and see if there's anything we can do. Alrighty, ordinance enforcement project.
I'll take that.
Alex.
The flyer that Fran just spoke about, the HRC is going to be participating in not only this event, but an upcoming event. The reentry fair has become quite popular. It is well attended by all the agencies, so the HRC and the HRO office will be present. I think it's October 12th. We'll put it on the website. And leading up to that, Clerk Katie Blakeman also reached out through Rosecrans and requested the participation of the HRC and the HRO at her event, which is this expungement fair. And so we have already confirmed, we're very honored that we were invited, and will be present to assist. Just so you know, this is an extraordinary event that's going to occur. Katie went to Chicago, who's been doing an expungement fair for quite a few years, was very impressed, did the research to try to put together the first one here. And so it's going to be one-stop shopping. People will be able to come in with their situation. There's advanced registration. I cannot stress how important that is. And it's through Facebook, so it's easy to register. They are bringing down, I believe, the last time when I attended one of the introductory meetings, they're going to be bringing down Cabrini Green Legal Clinic and their attorneys that will be able to provide counseling to the individuals that show up. The HRO office has already registered one individual directly for the service, someone that came and was looking for assistance with expungement, and so we were able to register them. And we're hoping that this is something that will be able to be offered throughout the year. Also, in terms of ordinance enforcement, I'm beginning to get a lot of inquiries about prior conviction discrimination. And so, as I mentioned to you before, I had done 2 outreach efforts on that front, and we're starting to get a lot more questions about what are the rights, when is it appropriate to ask questions, and so I'm going to be putting together a little workshop for individuals on that subject. The office was also able to resolve 2 housing issues recently prior to a complaint to the satisfaction of both parties, and that was really nice to see. In terms of scheduling the first ordinance enforcement meeting, that's going to be forthcoming. This has been with outreach and travel, it's been difficult, but we will be on the books for next meeting.
Thank you, Alex. And then finally, our training and development project. Alex, you'll...
That project group is going to be the last to actually meet. It is most likely going to meet in November. We have Carol is going to be a lead in that work group, and she is out ill at least till the November meeting. And then Stacy's going to serve as the other work group member. And so we'll convene sometime in November. A lot of the work that's going to be coming out of the other work groups will then feed into the training and development group for outreach in terms of education. That's the update for that.
Great. All right, thank you. Moving on now on to item 7, and do you want to start with EEO workforce statistics?
Yes. We have a couple of new companies applying for certification. We have Bruce S. Bonsinski Law Office. It's a very small firm, 2 individuals. Their minority utilization currently is at 0.0. Based on their size, we're going ahead and recommending 2-year certification. We have Foster & Foster Actuaries. They're a 40-employee company. Their current minority utilization is 7.5. Based on that level, we're recommending 1-year certification, and our letter will include a comment directing them to look at their, requesting that they look at their African American workforce.
Okay.
We have Tyler Technologies, a very large corporation, 3,640 employees. They have a 14.1% minority utilization rate. We're recommending their certification at the 1-year level.
So we have 3 companies that are new to the application process. Is there a motion on the floor to get to discussion, or
Move approval as recommended.
is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any final discussion, any questions? Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Thank you. Now, Alex, we got a bunch of renewals, it looks like.
Yeah. So our first renewal is Applied Research Associates, pretty large company, 1,025 employees. They have a minority utilization rate of 14.0, which is a slight drop from their last year's application. We're recommending their certification at 1 year. We have Baker Tilly Virchow Kraus, who is renewing their large company, 2,733 employees. Their minority utilization rate is 10.1%, a slight increase from last year. We are recommending their certification at the 1 year mark. We have Clark Dietz, 106 employee company, a minority workforce utilization of 8.5. We're recommending their certification for 1 year. Corrective Asphalt Materials. This company is a small company, 22 employees. They have a 0% minority utilization rate. It was 0 in 2015. I looked into this company's history, and at one point they were certified for, let's see if memory serves me correctly, 2 years. And then at the renewal stage, they dropped to 1 year. And at this renewal stage, I'm recommending a drop to 6 months and a referral for a review by the HRO office. Farnsworth Group is a medium-sized company, 431 employees. Their minority utilization is 8.4. Which is an increase from the last period. We're recommending their certification for 1 year. Illinois Concrete Raising. They are a small company. They've increased by 2 employees to 5 employees. They have a utilization rate of 0%. Given their size, we're recommending their certification for 2 years. Open Road Paving, 185 employee workforce with a 13.5% minority utilization rate. They were previously certified at 1 year. They have increased by 2%, almost 3%. We recommend their recertification at 1 year. Rogards Office Plus is a small company. They were previously certified for 6 months. At this renewal stage, they have sought out, they've had some kind of either a change in their structure or decided to pursue State of Illinois certification as a female-owned business entity, and they have secured that certification by the state, and now they are a female-owned business entity. Given that certification, we're recommending 1 year for them to for certification, and then we will review what that progress is in terms of their workforce utilization. Stark Excavating is at 312 employees, a small drop from the last period of certification. They have a 9.3 utilization rate, which is a slight decline from the last time, 2.3% decline. They were certified at 1 year. Given that still respectable level of utilization, we're recommending recertification at 1 year. We have United Fuel Company, a small company, 7 employees, with a utilization rate of 0. We're recommending their certification given their size for 2 years. And that concludes our renewals.
Great. Are there any questions for Alex? If not, a motion to get to discussion.
A question first.
Peter.
Well, a couple.
Please.
I wanted to ask about Stark Excavating first. They did have some drop in overall employment. They had a huge drop in African American employment. Would you go over your thinking on the 1 year as opposed to 6 months for Stark? Was it borderline for you? Was it some criteria that you said, no, that's really a 1 year?
My thinking there is they are utilizing unionized labor. And a majority of their turnover is going to be related to that seasonal cycle.
Gotcha.
And, this is one snapshot at that particular point. One of the things when we start looking in the enforcement group at enhancing our already good process is going to be finding perhaps multiple snapshots or a particular time for the construction sector that more appropriately captures their workforce. And so given that they're maintaining an overall utilization rate that is at least respectable by OFCCP, Office of Federal Contract and Compliance Standards, I thought a one-year recertification would be fine. And then that gives us, of course, the time. By this time next year, we will have an enhanced review process.
And the only other one I've got a question about is corrective asphalt. And by the way, thank you for that explanation. That makes a lot of sense and something that we've been considering for some time. So corrective asphalt, you had them for 6 months. Do you think delaying their approval and getting additional information would be problematic at this point? And 6 months means we're going to ask them for lots of information anyway, but we're going to let them go ahead with the contract, saying we'll wait for the information first, do a review, and then do whatever recommendation next month is our other approach here, assuming that you haven't collected additional information from them yet.
It's difficult to answer that question only because I'm not sure if they have a pending bid or are servicing a contract. Currently, our process does not advance require that information. We do at the very bottom at 4, requested, but it's not always completed. And one of the things that I've been promoting is asking companies to go ahead and submit their EEO applications to us independently of their bids.
Sure.
So that it's kind of like a driver's license. If you're going to buy a car, get your driver's license. And so, and many of them are doing that, and they're renewing even though they may not contemplate a bid at that. But at least this is something that they have, that they can just attach the certificate. So given that I don't know if they are actively bidding something or are servicing a contract, and given that they are renewing timely and consistently, I thought in this 6 month period we could request some of the more detailed than what I have requested. We could defer for 30 days, but it's going to take more than 30 days to do the detailed review, because I mean we're going to do a detailed review.
And my concern with them, they are right outside of St. Louis. They're on the Illinois side of the river.
Right.
So the population that they are hiring from should not be an issue. I'm not clear, given their application, what precisely they do. So, I'd like to hear about if they're having trouble hiring from minority communities, what the issue here is. They have several positions which are listed as semi-skilled or unskilled, which says to me, why is that a problem to get employees that are more diverse if they're in an area that has diversity? So I have significant questions about them. I'd certainly want to hear and get that detailed review.
And of course, pure speculation, but corrective asphalt makes me think of what's going down on Windsor Road.
It could be, yeah.
Again, I don't want to but
I mean, I'm sure
we'd
they
be
are
at the
doing
middle
something
of-
with Public
Actually,
Works.
Or maybe
Windsor
not.
Road is Stark Excavating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, well, excuse me.
Let me, may I?
Please.
I share your concerns completely. One of the other things that led me to recommend to use the 6 months is also the size of the company.
Yeah,
It's,
that's
you
what
know,
I
They're
20
very borderline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that level, it's so, and that they're drawing their labor from unionized labor. It is not a whole lot. So that's what's sort of leading me to, I think through a review, I would anticipate that in 6 months, they would either have a solid good faith business case or have a plan for remediating, or we might go down the road of non-certification.
Right.
And I don't think we've ever given a company this small 6 months, so I'd be kind of just curious to see how they respond. Get their attention,
Yep.
you know. I
Yeah,
don't-
because obviously last time they were just over the line.
Yeah.
And the previous
The
time they were
15.
still too small.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Alex, or is there a motion on the floor?
Okay. I move that we approve Applied Research Associates for 1 year, Baker Tilly Verschow Kraus, 1 year, Clark Dietz, 1 year, Corrective Asphalt Materials, 6 months, Farnsworth Group, 1 year, Illini Concrete Raising, 2 years, Open Road Paving, 1 year, Rogards Office Plus, 1 year,
A lot of streets, though.
Stark Excavating, 1 year, and United Fuel, 2 years.
Thank you, Fran. Is there a second?
Second.
One final moment for discussion, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Thank you. Alex, HRO activity report is up next, I believe.
I am very pleased to announce that we have closed 2 cases by settlement. One of the cases involved reinstatement of the employee. And we are close to closing 2 additional cases. A decision will be issued forthcoming. The remainder of the cases are all in the process of settlement. 2 of them, and then the remainder are in the investigatory phase. I also wanted to mention, in terms of, as I mentioned to you earlier, we're starting to get a lot more questions on prior conviction discrimination, which is good. We also received a call from a sister agency out east asking us how we were handling prior conviction in housing. And that intersection is a very complex intersection. And so we spent an hour on the phone articulating where we're at and brainstorming where they're at. And so when we get together in Ordinance Enforcement Group, we're going to be discussing that in a little bit greater detail. The other, in terms of activity that I wanted to mention, is I had an opportunity to attend a legal presentation on transgender access to restrooms, and we're slowly moving forward in a situation where it would be important for us to start to look at guidance to the city and to the community around that particular right. The state has already issued protection under transgender, and especially when it comes to restroom access. In the conference that I was at, one of the larger questions that were being asked, of course, is in the elementary school setting and high school settings, the showers, the access to sports, how are you competing as a male, as a female, at what threshold. And there was a lot, among the institutions represented, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of concern. On occasion, there was a desire for quick answers, tell us what to do. And so it was as an enforcement officer, it was really good to see the need for guidance and the need for clarity and so that I was able to provide some along with the attorneys that were present. And so I'm going to be working up some information and bringing it to the committee to look at. Additionally, I also wanted to mention that I'm going to be attending the NACOL conference, which is the National Organization of Civilian Law Enforcement Review Boards, at the end of this September. And some of that, of course, has intersections with human rights and civil rights. And so I will be bringing back some of that information to you. And there was one more thing I wanted to mention to you. Oh, also related to ordinance enforcement, the city of Urbana is beginning its procurement review process that's being led by our director of finance, and we have a multidisciplinary team within the city that will be looking at our entire procurement process. And of course, I'm going to be part of it, and one of the roles that I have in that is to look at the EEO and system checks and compliance there. And so I will update you at the appropriate times as we're moving through that process.
Thank you, Alex. And then finally, our budget report. A couple of small items, I think, to attend to.
Yes. First of all, I have no new expenditures to report from the budget since the last meeting. Would like to ask the Commission's approval to both reimburse the Human Relations Officer for supplies purchased from personal funds for outreach events. And we would also like to ask the Commission's approval to increase our donation to the Up Center of Champaign County from the recommended $50 to $100, if we may.
Do you have an amount for the reimbursement?
I'm missing one receipt, which I'm finding. It is going to be under 115. So if you authorize reimbursement up to, it's under $125. And if you authorize reimbursement up to $125, we'll take care of it.
So I'd like to move that we expend up to $125 out of, what is this coming out of? Community education, is this? Or is this grants and sponsorships?
Good question.
I look to our secretary.
Both grants and sponsorships and community education have $1,500 balance in both.
And this was for the school supplies, or?
Yeah, I would say, just based on past experience, I would say that community education would probably be the more appropriate of the two.
That sounds fine. So I move that we have Alex reimburse the HRO for up to $125 out of the Community Education Fund.
And the increase in donation.
Oh, you want we can do two in one. Well, let's do one
Okay.
at a time.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
And then I will further move that we increase the donation to the Up Center of Champaign County from $50 to $100, money coming out of our grants and sponsorship fund.
Is there a second?
Second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Wonderful. Announcements. Are there any announcements? I'll say thank you to the community. I went to both the International Humanitarian Awards and the Pride Parade in the last 6 days, and it was invigorating. It was a beautiful energy and vibe. Great reminder of what community means, what it is to be a member of a community, and specifically to be a member of this community. It was really wonderful events. It was a nice reminder. I don't think I'd been out for maybe a little while as an HRC member, so it was really inspiring. So I just wanted to say thank you. And outside of that, this meeting is adjourned. We'll see you guys next month.